Hey Sherlocks, I really need your help here. So, take out your magnifying glasses and join me on this detective chase.
Yeah.
Look at this image. What's wrong here? These guys seem to be playing tennis, but they're using a tiny football. Now how about these people? One of them is from the future. Can you figure out who it is? Be very attentive. Right, it's this guy. He's got a smartphone in his pocket. This looks like a regular picnic in the park, but one of these people is a time traveler. Who is it? It's the guy with a USB port in his arm. A sailor has a piece of fabric that is 16 feet long. He cuts 2 feet of this fabric per day. How many days will he need to cut the whole cloth? Your first answer might have been 8 days, but in fact, the sailor will only need 7 days. The last remaining piece of fabric will be 2 feet long, and the sailor won't need to cut it. Adam's car has broken down right in the middle of a deserted forest road. But the worst thing? It's winter. Snowdrifts are huge, and the wind is freezing cold. Adam has to get to the nearest town, and fast. But if he follows the first path, he'll have to deal with hungry wolves. The second one goes through an area inhabited by bears. And if he takes the third road, he'll have to cross a river covered with thin ice. Which is the safest way? Adam should sneak through the bear's territory. These animals sleep in winter. Look at this picture. Which cage, in your opinion, is the safest? It's the last one. Even though a scorpion sting is painful, it's rarely life-threatening. The next tricky brain teaser for you. Can you figure out who has stolen her computer? It's definitely the girl on the right. Look at the strange shape her hoodie has taken. One of these girls is a wanted criminal. But which one? It's the one with dark hair. She has the same mole as the girl in the photo. Now there is something terribly wrong in this image. Can you figure out what it is? Look at that snowdrift near the cactus on the right. It's a desert. What is a snowdrift doing there? Look at these people and try to figure out who will divorce soon. Most likely, it will be the couple on the right. Have you noticed that the woman has secretly given a note with her phone number to the bartender? After a natural disaster, there was a blackout in Sam's town. Some criminals used darkness to kidnap the guy for ransom. The building where he was kept had 3 doors. Sam could use one of them to escape. But the first door hid a trap that would crush anyone as soon as they entered. Behind the second door, there were chainsaws that could cut anything into pieces in no time. The flesh-eating acid was bubbling behind the third door. Which door should Sam choose? Chainsaws can't harm the guy because there's no electricity in the town, remember? Liza was a millionaire's daughter. She was fed up with her father trying to control her life, so she decided to run away from home. She took some money and the most discreet car she could find in the garage and left. The girl knew her father would send his people to bring her back. That's why she never stayed in one hotel for more than one night. One day, she found herself in a small town. It was getting dark, and she had no choice but to stop at the first hotel she saw. The receptionist said her room number was 710 and offered to show her where it was. Liza immediately grabbed her bag, ran out of the hotel, jumped in the car, and sped away. Why? The first digit of a hotel room number usually means the floor it's on. Room 710 is supposed to be on the 7th floor. But the hotel has only 2 floors. This must be a trap. A tourist who didn't speak English came up to the ticket counter at a New York subway station. One ticket cost 50 cents, and the man handed the ticketing clerk $1. The woman gave the tourist 2 tickets without even asking how many he needed. How did she know? The tourist gave her 4 quarters, and she immediately realized that if he needed just 1 ticket, he would have just given her 2 quarters. Ice melts when you heat it, but if you heat me, I'll become solid. Can you figure out what I am? I'm an egg. I'm weightless, but you can see me. And if you put me in a water bottle, it will become much lighter. What am I? Right you are. I'm a hole. After having had a fight with a powerful wizard, Louisa found herself trapped in a medieval castle, far away from civilization. She couldn't escape. Jumping out of the window was out of the question because it was too high above the ground. And the only tree growing next to that window wasn't sturdy enough for the girl to use it to climb down. At the same time, in the room where Louisa was locked, there were 3 doors. One of them could lead the girl to freedom, but behind the first door, a fire was raging. The second door held back hundreds of venomous snakes. And behind the third door, there was a maze filled with animal traps. Which door should Louisa choose to escape? Louisa should break off a tree branch, turn it into a torch by lighting it in the first room, and then going through the maze. It won't be dark anymore, and the girl will easily avoid the traps. Now, your task is to crack a few rebus puzzles. Be very attentive and try to think outside the box. What does this mean? Right, that's Big Sister. How about this rebus puzzle? The correct answer is right between the eyes. Look at this one. That's good afternoon. What can you fill if your hands are empty? Well, this is confusing. How can I fill anything if there's nothing in my hands? You'll probably be able to figure it out. And the correct answer is gloves, or mittens if that's what you prefer. Mr. Wilson's company had some financial problems. One day, the man called the police. He said someone had broken into his office. They stole my safe with all the money I had. The police officers who came to investigate this case asked the man why he was so sure that there had been several thieves. Well, my safe was too heavy for one person to carry. The police instantly realized Mr. Wilson was lying. How? If the safe had been indeed so heavy, it would have left some dents on the carpet, but the floor covering is perfectly smooth. Detective Martin was choosing a diamond ring for his fiancée when a man in a black mask ran into the jewelry store. He made all the visitors lie on the floor and took the most expensive jewelry and money. After that, Detective Martin saw the man get on a red motorbike and speed away. The detective jumped into his car and set off on a chase. Soon, he came to a crossroads. Where should he go now? Suddenly, Martin saw a car coming from the opposite direction. He asked the driver if he'd seen the red bike.
No, I've only seen a silver convertible.
Then, the detective saw a gray car approach from the left. The woman inside said she hadn't seen the red bike, but she had seen a yellow bike and a group of cyclists. And the man who appeared from the right told Detective Martin he'd only noticed a large blue truck. Where is the robber?
Yeah.
The motorbike can only be inside the blue truck.
Hey, I've got a couple of riddles for you today, but those are hard, so start your brain engine and let's go. There was once a magical forest inhabited by elves and gnomes. Since they didn't get along very well, they lived in two different parts of the forest to avoid all conflict. One day, centaurs invaded the forest and elves and gnomes were forced out, running in different directions. Let's follow a small group of 6 creatures, 3 elves and 3 gnomes. They ran west, but unfortunately, they stumbled across a lake. None of them could swim, but luckily, there was a raft. The raft could only carry 2 creatures at once, 2 elves, 2 gnomes, or 1 elf and 1 gnome. So you need to figure out a way for all of them to cross the lake safely. Now, here's the problem. If there are more gnomes on one side than elves, they will attack them. Even if an elf is on the raft, but not in the part of the lake where there are more gnomes than elves, it's still not safe. Can you figure out a way for them all to cross the lake safely? Okay, so here are 5 possible first steps. 1 elf crosses the lake, or 1 gnome, or 2 elves, 2 gnomes, or 1 elf and 1 gnome. But it doesn't make any sense to cross the lake alone since they need to send the raft back somehow. So those 2 options are out. 2 elves can't cross the lake together because then the 3rd elf will be left alone with 3 gnomes and they will attack him. So it's either 2 gnomes crossing the lake first or an elf and a gnome. So let's go with the 2 gnomes. So 2 of them cross the lake and of course 1 of them has to come back. Now what? 2 elves can't leave together because the 3rd one is in danger. If an elf and a gnome leave together, then the one who is leaving will be in danger as soon as they cross the river. So 2 more gnomes leave together, and then 1 comes back. An elf and a gnome can't leave together because then there will be 3 gnomes and 1 elf on the other side. So this time, 2 elves cross the lake together. Who comes back? Not an elf, because the other one can't be left alone there. A gnome can't go back alone. Otherwise, there will be 2 gnomes and 1 elf on the first shore. So, a plot twist. An elf and a gnome come back together. Now, 2 gnomes can't cross the lake. An elf and a gnome can't go either. So, the 2 remaining elves go to the other shore together. None of them can now return since there are 2 gnomes left on that shore. So, a gnome will return to pick up one of his buddies. Then another gnome will go to pick up the last gnome. But it's not the only solution. You could also succeed by sending a gnome and an elf together as a first move. Here's a graph of how it would play out. But remember, no matter how far you travel, there's no place like Nome. Okay, great job! Now it's time for the second riddle, and this one comes from Esme. This girl often goes for a walk in a forest and typically gets lost. This time, though, she doesn't get lost. Here's her way home. but she's tempted to go visit her old friend, a witch, who lives in that forest. Esme has an amazing riddle, and it's pretty hard, so she thinks she has a good chance of winning the witch's cat. So, Esme goes to the witch's house and offers the following. I bet you can't solve my riddle. If I'm right, your cat will go home with me. The witch believes she can solve any riddle, so she takes that risk. Esme puts a big acute triangle on the table. Here, you can make 7 cuts to make this triangle disappear. Every piece you cut off that is an acute triangle will disappear. But if a triangle has an angle that is right or obtuse, that piece will stay. Once again, 7 cuts, and you have to make the whole triangle disappear. Not a single smallest piece can be left. So, how can the witch do that and keep her cat? Whenever you make a cut, it'll either produce 2 right angles or an acute and obtuse angle. The witch seems to be doomed, but then she looks at the pizza she hasn't finished. When you cut into more than 4 pieces, all angles are acute. The problem is that a pizza is round, and we're dealing with a triangle. Still, the trick also works with other shapes, like hexagons and pentagons. Good for the witch, she can make a pentagon out of this acute triangle by making just 2 cuts. The small cut-off triangles are acute, and they disappear. Now, the witch needs to deal with the pentagon like she does with a pizza. Cut it into 5 pieces using the last 5 cuts. That's a success story. Hey, we know you like the cat, Esme, but maybe get one of your own. Okay, do you think you can crack another one? I promise it's the last one for today, and it's quite fun. No more geometry. Here's how the story goes. 1,000 years ago, 6 siblings founded a magical school. Ingram, Regalia, and Corona are witches, and Agnard, Ardumo, and Modnar are wizards. A pair of siblings found a house each, and the names of those houses are Rymeth, Madlo, and Damora. All 6 of them also founded the 4th house, named after their 7th sibling who went missing when they were young. You are invited to study in the magical school, but as you arrive, you have to be sorted into your house. You have to put your hand on the sorting book and wait for its decision to light up on the cover. When you do it, the book sees potential in you. So instead of sorting you into one of the 3 houses right away, it gives you an opportunity to get into the 4th house, where the most gifted young magicians go. To prove that you're good enough to be sorted into that house, you have to solve the sorting riddle. The task is to guess the name of the special house, which no one but its students knows. But you have some guidelines that can serve as hints. First, you have to find out who founded which house. Here are some statements. Every house was founded by a brother and a sister. Corona and Regula found Rymeth and Madlo, but not necessarily in this order. Ingram and Ardumo founded Madlo and Damora, but not necessarily in this order. Agnard and Regala founded the same house. Now, after you figure it out, the next step is to guess the name of the secret house. To find it out, find what all siblings have in common. So, are you gifted enough to get sorted into that special house? First, you have to find out who founded which house. So, the pair is always a brother and sister. Let's look at conditions 2 and 3. Each of them mention Madlo. Both Corona and Regala are sisters, which means that no matter who founded Madlo, it already has a sister founder. Therefore, Ingram, who is also a witch, couldn't have founded this house, which means that Madlo was founded by Ardumo, so Ingram founded Damora. Agnard founded the same house with Regala, so it was Modnor who founded Damora with Ingram. Therefore, it only leaves us with Rymeth for Agnar and Regala. Finally, Corona founded Madlo. Okay, great. Now we have to figure out the name of the 5th house. What do the siblings have in common? Of course, all of them have the letter R in their names. Let's put them in the order of appearance of the letter in their names, starting with Regala. Under each of their names, let's put the name of the house they founded. Now, the respective letters under each R form the name Radota. That's the name of their missing sister, and that's what the fourth house is called. So, pal, if you figured it out, congratulations, and welcome home.
Hey, ready for some Valentine's Day riddles? Look at these three guys. Which of them is going on a date tonight?
Hello.
It must be this one. He has a little wrapped present, probably for his date.
Aww.
Now let's peek inside a restaurant. Which of the three girls is on a date? It's this one. Look, there are roses and 2 sets of dishes on the table. So she's not alone, and it's something romantic. My money is on her. This is Allison, and one of these 3 young men is her boyfriend. Can you tell who? It's this one. Look, they have matching tattoos. Take a look at these 2 proposals. Which one of them is fake? This one. Look, the guy has a ring. He's clearly already married. It was Friday evening, and Mark was waiting for his girlfriend to get back from work. He prepared dinner and was about to propose. His girlfriend came back home with flowers. Do you think she was on a date with someone? No, she wasn't. Look outside. The same flowers grow in their garden. She just picked some before entering the house. On Valentine's Day, Annika found a love note on her desk. Unfortunately, the note wasn't signed, but she had 3 suspects. So she asked each of them if they had written her a note. Dylan said,
I was busy finishing my math homework before class.
Connor said,
I was hanging out with my buddies outside.
and Luke said,
I was in the bathroom and I just returned.
who wrote Annika the letter? It was Luke. Look, his hands are covered in red ink. That's the color used in the letter. Also, if he had really been to the bathroom, his hands would be clean. On Valentine's Day, Jess found a note in her locker. But the note was weird. It was just a sequence of random letters. Or was it some code? Can you help Jess read the note and figure out who sent it to her? Of course it's a code. Look, there are 5 groups of letters with 5 letters in each group. Let's put them into a 5 by 5 table. And now, we need to read this vertically, column by column. Will you go out with me, Colton? So where's that Colton? Michelle was hosting a Valentine's Day party. She invited all her school friends, and everyone was allowed to bring a +1. Either their significant other or a single friend. In the middle of the party, she noticed that her cousin was in the garden talking to some girl, but it was dark and she couldn't tell which girl it was. She just saw that the girl had long hair. When her cousin returned, she knew immediately who he was interested in. Here are 3 girls with long hair. Who was outside with Michelle's cousin? Look, Michelle's cousin has a lipstick stain. The girl must have left it, and this girl right here is wearing lipstick of the same shade. On a cold, rainy night, Damon was driving past a bus stop. There were 3 people there waiting for their bus. An elderly lady who looked sick, a doctor who had saved many lives, and Addison, a girl Damon had a crush on for years. Unfortunately, there was only room for 1 more person in his car. What should Damon do? He should give his car to the doctor, who would then take the lady to the hospital. and Damon can stay at the bus stop waiting for the bus with the girl of his dreams, looking like a hero in her eyes.
Yeah.
Let's take a little break now. Have you seen any romantic movies? Well, I hope so, because I'll be showing you some emojis, and your task will be to guess what romantic movie they stand for. Okay, here's the first very easy one. Of course, that's Titanic. Here's the next one. Nothing much, but it should be clear. Do you know this movie? It's The Notebook. What about this one? A relatively recent remake was a great success. Can you recognize it? It's A Star Is Born. Here's the next one. Do you think you can guess it right? It's Before Sunrise. The next set of emojis illustrates another very well-known love story. Can you guess it right? It's La La Land, of course. Here's the last one. It's an oldie but a goodie. What do you think? Everyone's favorite, The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind with Kate Winslet and Jim Carrey. It was Valentine's Day, and Nicole wanted to put a little present in the locker of the student she had a crush on. Unfortunately, she didn't know the code. Luckily for her, the owner of the locker was forgetful too, so there was a note with a hint. Can you figure out the combination? Each number is the number of lines in the respective letter. There is just one line in I, 4 lines in M, 3 in H, and 2 in T. So, following the same logic, there are 4 lines in E, 2 in L, 2 in V, and 3 in Z. So the combination is 4, 2, 2, 3. Okay, here's another code for you to crack. This time, you need to help Eric. He wants to get his wife a nice Valentine's Day gift, but he is absolutely clueless about what she wants. So, the plan is to break into her computer, check her shopping cart, and get something from there. The problem is that the computer requires a passcode, and the man doesn't know it. Luckily, there's a note on the desk, so he types in 6198. But the passcode is wrong. Can you figure out what the correct passcode is? The note is just turned upside down. Eric should try typing in 8619 instead. Kennedy works in the emergency room. It's Valentine's Day and there's a patient who felt unwell during a college party. Kennedy leaves the room because she needs to talk to the patient's girlfriend. She was at the party with him. Which young woman should she approach? Who is the guy's date? Keep in mind that the couple was at a party, so they must be dressed nicely. The patient's date is most likely this woman in a pretty dress. Now, let's do some exercises to train your eyes. Here's a bunch of hearts. Can you find one broken heart? Yes, here it is. Good job. The task is similar, but not quite. Now there are many hearts and a few broken hearts. How many broken hearts are there? There are 5 broken hearts here. Have you found them all? Kelsey came to an antique store to get some presents for her boyfriend for Valentine's Day. She needed a baseball cap for him, an antique pocket watch, and a toy car from the 1920s. Can you help her find all these items for her boyfriend? Here's the cap, here's the watch, and here's the car. Have you spotted them all? Mark, the boyfriend, is getting presents for Kelsey in the same antique store. He needs to find a pretty cup, an antique mirror, and a beautiful photo album. He needs some help too, so keep your eyes wide open. Do you see all these items? Here they all are. 1, 2, and 3. Great job! It's a Valentine's Day party, and Melody, the most popular girl in school, is hosting it. 4 best friends are standing together, and one of them is Melody's boyfriend.
Oh, yeah.
You ask them who the boyfriend is, and here's what they say. The first guy says, "The fourth one is the boyfriend." The second guy says, "It's me." The third one claims, "No, it's the first guy." And the fourth one says, "No, it's actually me." If only the boyfriend tells the truth and the other guys lie, who is Melody's boyfriend? Only the boyfriend tells the truth, so he will say, "I'm the boyfriend." So it's either the second guy or the fourth one. But if the boyfriend is the fourth guy, then the first one is telling the truth too. So Melody's boyfriend is the second guy. Allison has 2 coins which total 35 cents. If one of the coins isn't a dime, what are the 2 coins Allison has? Well, one is not a dime, but the other one is a dime. So Allison has a quarter and a dime. Let's start with a couple of simple teasers to warm up your brain for today's challenge. The day before yesterday was the 17th. What is the day after tomorrow? If the day before yesterday was the 17th, it means that today is the 19th. So the day after tomorrow is the 21st. Wendy's birthday was yesterday. She turned 16 years old. Yet, she's turning 17 this year. How is it possible? Wendy's birthday must be December 31st, and today must be January 1st, already the new year. A family is on vacation, carelessly chilling at the beach all day long. They were drinking their iced cocktails when suddenly, the youngest daughter, Odette, asks, "What day of the week is today?" No one knew. The father said, "I only know what tomorrow is, neither Thursday nor Friday." The mother said, "And I'm sure that yesterday wasn't Saturday or Sunday." And Adele, an older sister, said, "Today is definitely not Friday, not a Monday, and not a Tuesday." What day is today? Let's cross out all the impossible days. From Dad, we know that it's not Wednesday and not a Thursday. From Mom, we know that Sunday and Monday are also out. Adele said no to Tuesday and Friday, so it's a Saturday. Avery walked into a room and there were several doors there. On the first door, there was a sign saying, "Lion's Den." On the second door, there was a sign saying, "Mountaintop." On the third door, there was a sign with just a question mark. Still, Avery knew exactly where the third door was leading. Do you? The third door is the door Avery walked through, so it led back there. Once upon a time, there was a happy family living in a house in the shape of a dome. There was a mother, a father, their daughter, a chef, a maid, and a puppy named Oliver. One day, Mother and Father came back home and found out that Oliver had gone missing.
No.
They asked who was the last one to walk him, but everyone denied it. The daughter said, "I was reading." The maid said, "I was dusting the corners in the house." The chef said, "I was baking an apple pie." Who is responsible for Oliver's disappearance? The maid. There's no corners in a dome-shaped house. Mrs. Lawrence has 3 daughters, Ava, Bethany, and Chloe. She's about to have another girl. What do you think she'll name her? Riley, Daphne, or Ava? Mrs. Lawrence seems to follow the alphabet, so I bet she'll name her 4th daughter Daphne. In the middle of a pond, there's a little island, and there's a butterfly sitting on a rock. If it swims north, it's 2 minutes to the mainland. If it swims east, it's 3 minutes to the mainland. If it swims south, it's 1 minute to the mainland. If it swims west, it's 5 minutes to the mainland. Which way should it swim? It shouldn't swim either way. Butterflies fly. Once upon a time, an evil witch kidnapped 3 women and turned them into rose bushes. One of the women begged the witch to see her husband before she left him forever. The witch agreed. She took the woman home for the night and returned her to her rosebush state the next morning. The woman had warned her husband, and the husband was following them to rescue his wife. Look at these 3 identical rose bushes. Which one is his wife? The rose bush that was his wife doesn't have any of the night's dew on the leaves. A married couple went on vacation. They locked up their house and gave the keys to a neighbor, along with instructions on what to control and maintain in the house. Just in case, the wife hid her jewelry in a safe place. While they were on vacation, there was a power outage in the house. There was no electricity for a couple of days, until the neighbor came back to check the house. The neighbor cleaned everything up by the time the couple got back. The wife couldn't find her jewelry. The neighbor swore that he didn't touch it. Where did the jewelry go? The wife hid them in a freezer. After the power outage, everything melted and the neighbor threw out all the food and jewelry as well by mistake. Now, a tricky question for you. What is the difference between electricity and lighting? You have to pay for electricity. Anna is bilingual. She speaks English and German. She had 4 exams to write: English, math, history, and geography. She wasn't prepared for them well, so she wrote all of them in German. All teachers returned her tests because they couldn't understand anything and suggested she write the test on a different day, in English. Still, one teacher could understand what she had written and gave her an F. Which teacher was it? It's the math teacher. Mathematics is all numbers, and they're the same in most languages, so the teacher could understand everything and check the exam. It's an early Monday morning. William and Daniel are both driving to work. Who is not being smart? Daniel. He hasn't fastened his seatbelt. It's not safe. James and Delaney are getting ready for a big family barbecue in the evening. James is cooking, and Delaney is busy with all the decorations. Who is not smart? James. He's cooking in the direct sun, and there's milk standing right there. It'll go bad very fast. Riley and Tessa are doing house chores. Riley is vacuum cleaning the house, and Tessa is outside shoveling the snow. Which one of them is in danger? Tessa, look, she's standing right below big icicles hanging off the roof. Every day, a woman was seen crossing the border carrying bags of sand on a motorbike. After some time, the border police got suspicious and stopped her. But they found she had only sand in those bags, so they let her go. What was the woman smuggling across the border? The answer is right in front of their nose. She's been smuggling motorbikes. Jonas lives on a farm. He just bought 7 horses. He's riding one of the horses, leading the rest to his farm. On the way, he's counting the horses he has, but he can only see 6. Problem, he paid for 7. He takes off, walks away, and counts the horses again. 7. Everything is correct. He hops up on a horse and keeps riding home. Midway, he's counting the horses again. 6. What do you think is his problem? Jonas always forgets to count the horse he's sitting on. Grace and Hope are twins, and they like to mess with people. Grace lies on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and Hope lies on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. One day, you walk up to them and ask what day it is. Both of them say, "Yesterday was one of my lying days." Which day is it? It can't be a Sunday, because they both say the truth one Sunday, and someone is obviously lying now. So one of them is lying, and one of them is telling the truth. So it's either the first day Grace lies, or the first day Hope lies. So it's either Monday or Thursday. It can't be Monday because in this case, both would lie saying yesterday was a lying day. So it's Thursday. Grace is telling the truth, and Hope is lying. Ben has an equal number of sisters and brothers, but each sister has twice more brothers as sisters. How many brothers and sisters are there in the family? There are 4 brothers and 3 sisters. So every boy has 3 brothers and 3 sisters. Every girl has 4 brothers and 2 sisters.
Imagine that you're on a game show and here is your last task. There are 3 doors in front of you. Behind one of them there is a car. Behind the other 2 there are ghosts. You pick a door to open. Let's say the first door. The host of the show, who knows behind which door the car is, opens another door. Let's say it's door 3. Behind it there is a goat. After that, the game host tells you, now your final choice. Do you want to switch your choice of doors? Do you think it would be in your interest to change your choice and pick door 2 instead? I'll give you some time to think, and you make your decision. Have you made your choice? This problem is called a Monty Hall problem. There is named after the host of a game show where this situation happened. And here what PhDs and mathematicians say. Switching the door doesn't make any sense. When you picked it first, the chances of picking the door with the car were 1/3. Whatever door you choose, the chances are the same. After the host opened the door, the odds of picking the door with the car are 50-50. But when Marilyn Roussevan, the most intelligent woman on the planet with an IQ of 228, was asked this question in her Sunday column in 1990, she replied, "Yes, you should switch. The first door has 1/3 chance of winning, but the second door has a 2/3 chance." Her response caused a huge outburst of negative comments.
What?
Mrs. Vusava received thousands of angry letters, 90% of which were telling her how wrong she was and how she lacked basic mathematical knowledge. Many of those letters were from mathematicians and PhDs. Marilyn wrote a response to them defending her answer. The winning odds of 1/3 of the first choice can't go up to 1/2. If you are still not persuaded and think that probabilities change after the second door is open, let's just consider all possible scenarios. There are 3 doors, and the car can be behind each one of them with equal possibility. So 3 scenarios are equally likely. The car is behind the first door, the car is behind the second door, and the car is behind the third door. Now let's say there are 2 players. One is a switcher, the one who will switch the door after the door with the goat is open. The other one is a non-switcher, the one who will stick to the first choice. Now let's see what happens in each case. Let's say the car is behind the first door. Both people choose the first door. The host opens either one of the remaining 2 doors. It doesn't matter which one, because there are goats behind both. The switcher will now switch to the other door, and the non-switcher will stick to the first one. In this case, the non-switcher will get the car. Professors 1, Marilyn 0. But let's consider the other 2 scenarios. Now the car is behind the second door. Once again, both players pick the first door. The host opens the third door, the one with the goat. The first player switches his choice and wins, and the second player sticks to the first one and loses. 1-1. The last case is when the car is behind the third door. The players pick the first door. This time the host opens the second door, because the second goat is there. The first player switches to the third door and wins. The second player sticks to the first door and loses. So the non-switching players win only one time, in the scenario when they pick the right door right away, which happens in 1/3 of cases. The switchers lose in only that one scenario, when they pick the right door right away and then give it up later. But they win in the other 2 scenarios, in both cases when the car is behind one of the other 2 doors. Mrs. Vusavant suggested another brilliant way to modify the problem to make it even clearer. Imagine that there are not 3 doors, but 1,000,000. The car is behind one of them, and you have to make your choice. Say you pick the first door. Then the host opens all the doors except door number 777,777. All of them had goats, so the car is either behind the door you picked or behind the door number 777,777. Will you switch? Of course you will.
Oh, yeah.
When you picked the door for the first time, the odds to pick the right one were 1 in 1,000,000. Now, when you make another choice between doors 1 and 777,777, your door still has the odds of 1 in 1,000,000, but door number 777,777 has accumulated the odds of all the other doors that were open. The case with 3 doors is the same, but less obvious. But who is this brilliant woman who made a monkey out of most professors across the country?
Oh.
Marilyn Vusavant was born on 11th of August in 1946 in Missouri. She has her mother's last name and, interestingly, savant means a person of learning in French. Marilyn is a descendant of the famous physicist Ernst Mach. She took her first IQ test when she was 10 years old, and she scored 228. Just for comparison, on average, an adult has an IQ of 100. Her parents knew of the girl's exceptional intelligence, but they kept it a secret from the public, so that the girl could live a normal life. The girl's dream was to become a writer. As a teenager, she was writing for local newspapers using pseudonyms. She wanted to become a full-time writer, but to do this, she needed financial security. Young Marilyn dropped out of college after 2 years because she got bored and started to invest. Within 5 years, her investments started to support her enough to let her fully dedicate herself to writing.
Yes!
In 1985, the Guinness Book of World Records obtained Marilyn's IQ scores from the Mega Society. a society of people with 1 in a million intelligence scores. They published them, and it made Marilyn Vosavant famous. She received a lot of media attention. A Parade magazine wrote an article about her, and it was so popular that they offered her to write her own column. Of course, Marilyn used this chance. She started the column Ask Marilyn, where she was answering tricky questions, solving riddles, and publishing her own. This is exactly where she gave her famous answer to the Monty Hall problem. But it wasn't the only controversial problem she solved. Here is one more. A shopkeeper said that she has 2 new beagles, but she doesn't know if they're male or female. You only want a male, so she calls a fellow who's bathing them. Turns out that at least one of them is a male. What is the probability that the other one is a male too? I'll give you some time to think. Here is what most people think. There are 3 possible scenarios. The 2 beagles are 2 males, 2 females, or a male and a female. Since one of them is a male, then it's now 2 possible options, 2 males or a pair. Therefore, the probability of 2 males is 1/2. Still, Marilyn Vosavant replied, 1 out of 3. This baffled the audience. But the key is that 2 puppies are different, and it's important to differentiate between them. For example, there is a puppy A and a puppy B. Now, how many combinations are there? Both being females is 1, both being males is 2. Now A is male and B is female, 3. And lastly, A is a female and B is a male, 4. So, there are 3 different cases when at least one is a male. So, when we know that at least one is a male, getting both males has the probability of 1/3. In over 35 years of solving thousands of riddles from her readers, Mrs. Vosavant only made 2 mistakes, and she described them in her column. Now, Mrs. Vosavant is 76 years old, and she's still writing her Ask Marilyn column, so you can even check it out.